really hope that audiences walk away from this film with an understanding of the true meaning of fairness, of what it means to be fair.
At this point, Rachel Zegler may be her own worst enemy, since she simply cannot seem to get a break. There is still drama after Snow White's box office failure. Even her own co-star, Andrew Burnap, is allegedly accusing her of being responsible for the colossal failure of the movie. Hold on tight, because today we're going to explore how Rachel Zegler went from Disney's darling to Hollywood's black sheep, and why Disney is reportedly rushing to sever relations. The behind-the-scenes story is more interesting than the film itself.
That legacy, that company that now Disney has screwed up the last 5 years trying to please a small percentage of minorities in America. Yeah, we're sick of it. So the more you do this, Disney, Iger, Zegler, whatever her name is, yes, this is exactly the backlash you're going to get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're supposed to win parents over. You're talking to kids, the parents pay for the tickets. You have to be a dummy as a marketer. If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what? Pay her a couple $1 million, go away. We're going to bring another person to play this role because you just screwed this thing up.
Following a startling first week for Rachel Zegler and her box office failure, many people conjectured that the numbers would gradually start to increase as more and more people choose to see the beloved classic. But were they mistaken, everyone? Disney struck a new low when Snow White stumbled in theaters and saw a startling 66% week-over-week decline in its second week, setting a highly undesirable record.
Just for reference, Snow White is currently sitting at a 1.7, and yet there was only 10 movies worse than this.
This week, two-dip of Rachel Zegler's Snow White is officially the worst of any Disney live-action adaptation ever, surpassing even Dumbo's in 2019. Now, as 2020 all of this was happening, Rachel Zegler made herself the laughingstock of Hollywood in an effort to salvage her career and persuade people to see the film. As the number of people seeing Snow White in theaters decreased, Rachel made the decision to go see the film with her pals, but she was shocked to find that no one was present when she arrived. All of this was captured on Rachel's friend's Instagram account, where she recorded herself yelling Rachel's name from an almost deserted theater. People began recording themselves watching Snow White in theaters as a result, and in practically all of these videos, the theater is deserted. Disney executives are reportedly not too pleased with Rachel Zegler as a result of this pattern. There are even unverified rumors circulating that Disney has already fired her.
And you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
There were many people who were meant to gain from the success of this film, including Rachel's co-star Andrew Burnap. Many people were expecting Andrew to become a star when this film came out before all the controversy started. He believed it himself. Andrew stated in an interview with People magazine, "I remember going out for it. I filmed something and sent it over in an email. You get ready for the audition, then kind of forget about it and move on. A few weeks later, I got an email saying they wanted to see me again. I was like, no way. Then they told me, next time you'll be doing a chemistry read with Rachel Zegler. I'll never forget sitting outside after getting the call that I got the part. Just thinking, wow, my life's really about to change." And things did change, but not in the way Andrew had hoped. You see, Rachel had already started to undermine Andrew's efforts, and even his role in the film before the film's production was even complete. Many people thought Rachel was too wonderful for the role, and that she believed she was the Snow White Messiah during the press tour. She seized every opportunity to disparage Andrew's character in the original film, claiming it was out of date. Furthermore, it is obvious to all of us that she was suppressing her thoughts. Rachel referred to Snow White's romantic interest as a weird stalker in an interview with Extra TV, which further exacerbated the problem. Regarding Andrew's character, she stated, "It's kind of strange that there's actually a guy following her around. We're approaching the story in a way that's pretty different from what most people might expect, especially since Andrew Burnap, who's a really nice guy, was cast in the role. But the cool thing is, it's not about a love story at all, which makes it even more interesting."
So no Prince or a different kind of thing?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because we cast a guy in the movie. Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. all of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Many individuals, including David Hand, the son of the original supervisor of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, were offended by this particular comment. According to David, Rachel's remarks shown no respect for what Walt Disney and his dad did all those years ago. Because of the intense criticism, Rachel was forced to retract her remarks and appear in an interview with Variety, saying, "I'd never want to tell someone they can't have a career just because they also want love, or that they can't have a family if they want to keep working. That's never been true, and it's still not. It gets pretty frustrating when jokes don't land, or people take things the wrong way. The love story has always been a big part of it. That was always the plan. But a bunch of people started saying we weren't doing it anymore just because it didn't come up in the conversation that day." Rachel was attempting to destroy more than just Andrew. The fact that Rachel and Gal Gadot didn't get along was widely known, but unlike Andrew, Rachel's remarks only had an impact on her personally rather than Gal's film character. You see, in a tweet related to the Snow White video from August 2024, Zegler expressed her support for Palestine on X, previously Twitter. Politics, as we all know, is a highly powerful and polarizing subject, and this instance was no exception. Gal Gadot had previously shown her support for Israel during the Israel-Palestine conflict and served in the Israeli Defense Forces under the nation's mandatory military service rules. This did not go over well behind the scenes. Surprise, surprise. Disney was rocked by Zegler's tweet, everyone. Many of the people who worked on the film's production couldn't understand why Rachel chose to utilize the film's promotion to make such a strong political statement. You know, it got so bad that Rachel's phone was being blown up by Disney executives that the film's producer, Mark Platt, came to New York to talk to her face to face. Rachel had a terrible relationship with the Disney executives and producers at this point because she had been disparaging their film for almost 2 years. But they had already invested so much money in its production and promotion that they were practically forced to deal with her. Furthermore, she wasn't making things simple for them. Anyway, after Gal started getting death threats because she is Israeli, the fallout from Rachel's post started to get out of control. Disney had to employ more security for Gal because they got so bad. As per an insider, the whole situation got a lot worse because Rachel Zegler didn't seem to realize how her post would affect things. She didn't understand the impact of what she said, not just for Gal, but for the movie and everyone involved. With every day that followed, the two co-stars' friendship continued to deteriorate. Disney found this to be very challenging because they needed the two of them to promote the film, but when they did, it was obvious that they had nothing in common. It appeared as though the two deliberately avoided one another, even during the film's premiere. Additionally, Gal Gadot did not appear at the film's European premiere in Spain.
$270 million on the film, the studio opted for a small LA premiere, held Saturday in the middle of the day with limited press. Zegler greeted children dressed as Snow White. She was not at Disneyland on Sunday, where Gal Gadot promoted the film, surrounded by children dressed as her character, the Evil Queen.
Their vast age difference, Gal is a mother of 4, while Rachel is a budding actress, makes it even more difficult for them to connect. They had this movie, but it was a complete failure. An inside peek at the strange dynamics between the two co-stars was provided by another person who spoke to People magazine. Gal is irritated by the movie drama. Although she was okay with Rachel, they are not friends, and she enjoyed filming. They are not alike. They simply completed a task together. Additionally, per a different source, Gal Gadot doesn't really agree with Zegler when it comes to comments like that. Gal's mindset is pretty simple. If you've signed on to be part of a project, you don't go around criticizing it or stirring up drama. She just doesn't understand why Zegler would do that. And they weren't mistaken. Aside from the drama surrounding Gal Gadot, Rachel continued to make things harder for Disney employees. She also started a feud with Trump and his followers amid all the controversy with Gal. Rachel went completely crazy on Instagram. She wrote in one post, "May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." She didn't stop there, though. During her tirade, she referred to Trump's supporters as having a deep, deep sickness and accused them of holding on to a false sense of security, masculinity, intelligence, patriotism, and humanity. Finally, she concluded with the audacious words, "Fuck Donald Trump." As you are already aware, the internet took off after that. When the MAGA crowd arrived, they demanded that she be removed from the upcoming Snow White movie by Disney threatening to boycott the picture if they didn't. Disney has had enough of Rachel, since she was essentially advising half of their prospective audience not to even bother coming to see their movie. They were at a loss on what to do with her. Because Rachel was really undermining them, they even flew out the film's producer once more so he could speak with her one-on-one and get her under control. Disney hired a social media expert to try to control Rachel after a back-and-forth exchange. Following that, Rachel apologized, stating, "Hey everyone, I just want to say how truly sorry I am for the Instagram post I made about the election last week. I let my emotions get the best of me. Anger and hate only push us further away from peace and understanding, and I'm sorry for adding to that negativity. I know a lot of us have been feeling really emotional this week, but I really believe that everyone deserves the right to share their views, even if they don't line up with mine. I'm committed to learning from this and doing my part to help build a more positive future." After all of this turmoil, Rachel is now paying a heavy price for her apparent inability to control her speech, which could have potentially cost her her job. However, what are your thoughts? Can Rachel bounce back from this catastrophe? Check out the following video and share your thoughts in the comments section below.